Well. Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It is a, once again, very early hump day over here from Helsinki, Finland, as we do get started before the ripe old hour of 7 a.m. 5 a.m. wake up time today, and I'm feeling oh so fucking good while getting some nice coffee, dirty water into my body as well. Anyways, plenty to talk about today as we follow up on yesterday's short-term and long-term time frame analysis as well. Had a lot of fun on Twitch too, so want to thank everyone who came out on there. And with that said, let's put the folks over here on the Krown application, which we found at app.krowngene.net. And what do we see? We see all sorts of very interesting things going on right now. So with open interest coming down from about 3.2 billion to 2.8 billion to what we see today, with price action coming down quite significantly as well, what would that suggest? It suggests that once again longs are of course taking their positions off. So we do see profit taking right below that that $20,000 region, the prior well, I wouldn't even say the prior high, I would just say that round even number that everyone's obsessed with right now. And that would suggest that yes, longs taking profits, but we also do see that volume going up a little bit as well. So there is a bit of a different dynamic going on right now. And if the market does want to shift up, this would be an interesting place to perform such activities from. Anyways, Bitcoin dominance also hanging up and, also headed up just a little bit from yesterday to today, about a third of a percent. I think we were just under 62% yesterday, now at 62.31. And what does that mean? That means that altcoins are not doing well when Bitcoin playing out these massive ranges here. But I imagine that when Bitcoin does kind of settle down a little bit, which it probably does over the next week or two, that is going to be a little bit more of an altcoin time once again. However, of course, at the end of the day, Bitcoin gets to decide that, not me. And looking at the fear and greed index, also coming down 3 points from 95 to a 92, which is rather interesting as well as, I mean, that was a pretty significant move to the downside yesterday. But once again, man, or people or folks or you, let's just say you, does that even make sense? It doesn't even make sense in this context. Doesn't matter. Once again, that would still put us in the context of extremely greedy as far as the fear and greed index goes over here, as we did hit literally the highest read that we've ever seen since certainly recording this data. But I imagine this would be the highest read since gotta be 2017, 2018 perhaps. So this is rather significant right here, and we've spent about a month now, about a full month actually, in the extreme greedy zone above 90, and just kind of oscillating between about the very high 80s and mid 90s right there, of which we actually have seen kind of top formations put in that signature as well in the past. Looking at the funny rate, do we see any sort of crazy things going on once again today? No, not at all. In fact, everything's kind of back down to parity, hanging around 0.01% for Bybit, BitMEX, Huobi, Binance, and FTX. We got FEMEX and OKX just slightly out there, but that's not anything to be concerned with. More importantly, we saw that signature yesterday where we saw several exchanges above the critical 0.1 region, and what do you know? Bitcoin puts in, well, what would be at the very least a short-term high, looking like perhaps even a medium-term high in the making as it is right now. So with that said, I think it's time to get in some actual charts. But before that, I should denote that holy fuck, there's been a ton of people joining the Discord. I want to say a massive welcome to you all, you savages. But of course, for anyone who does want to join, feel free to join. The link's in the description below. We do have a little bit of an alt identifier security bot that other Discords won't have, so it might be a little bit complicated to kind of get in. But there is a video. It's the first video on this channel homepage when you go in. That is basically to say that if you are a member of the channel, or sorry, if you're subscribed to this channel and you just go to the channel homepage, then it's the video that automatically plays. That'll explain how to do it if for whatever reason it's confusing. Of course, like I said, anyone's welcome to join, but we do have some rules. Just mostly with being a normal, like well-adjusted human being, like being able to have disagreements with other people without just calling people fucking names, because that's weird. It's like not normal, and you wouldn't do that in real life. So yeah, of course anyone's welcome, but if you fuck up, well, we will kick and probably ban you. Anyways, with that said, let's go into the actual price action charts themselves. And what do we see over here? Okay, so I wanted to start off with the secondary chart. My secondary chart's becoming my primary chart, especially during trending markets, but fair enough. Anyways, the big thing here is that 3-day did close below the topside Toronto band on CMEs. That did get confirmed yesterday night. I believe the 2-day was actually confirmed as well. Yes, indeed it was. Yeah, indeed it was. But more importantly, the 3-day was the one that was actually giving a signal here. So this does start to look a little bit more and more like Bitcoin is putting in a medium-term top as it is, and will at the very least work its way a little bit lower down towards the, I believe this is a 9 exponential moving average right here. Could also use the 10. It's gonna give you about the same thing, and that'd be coming in around the mid to low $17,000 region, of which, if you remember, that is quite in line with our last gap on CMEs. I would not say that this gap is filled just yet. I would say anywhere below about 17.8 on CMEs that will be considered filled. But anywhere within this region right here is fair game. And as you can see, the 20 simple is going to be a natural target if things do want to break down below the 9 exponential moving average as it is right now. So with that in mind, after a little bit of a head fake right here, let's go into, or actually let's go check out our momentum oscillators right here as well. We do see that daily MACD is actually, well, here's the thing. A lot of people are going to look at this as a signal in and of itself, with the MACD technically crossing the downside right here and go bearish, it's going down. Well, no, I need to see that alongside a break of the actual range. In this case right here, that is why I use the 9x and in the 20 simple, because if we actually do break one of these areas, and it, it could go to either side, and then we also see a twist on the MACD, well, that would likely be an efficacious breakdown in this case, and we could judge lower targets. But for right now, we don't actually have that going on, so it's potential to happen later tonight, and that would drive targets down to the mid to low $17,000 region if that does happen. But a long day left to go, and well, we've all seen crazier things than $1,000 move in just one fucking hour, apparently, according to yesterday. Looking at ADX DMI as well, actually probably do a video on this one next, as I've kind of broadened back the technical indicators and trading strategies playlist once again. So I'm actually looking for new ideas for that. If you have any indicators that you want to see, definitely list them in the description, or sorry, in the comment section below, and we'll do our best. Anyways, so looking at this right here, we do see that DMI plus, coming down, not necessarily as dominant as it was before, and of course ADX is also loosening its grip as well. We don't really have any real signals to be looking at right here. I'm curious if something is building on maybe the 2-day or the 3-day. No, not really. And 3-day, no, not really as well. However, it is of interest to me that 3-day ADX is actually still strong here. So fair enough. We don't really have any divergences to be spoken about on the 3-day as well. So that would be another point in the Bullish court long term, obviously, which, make no mistake, I am still very much long-term macro bullish on this asset. I do think that it will, likely work its way back above 20,000 and probably find its way to like 22 or 23,000 maybe over the next couple months. But as it is right now, could it be time to be looking for that greater pullback perhaps, or is it time to be looking at well, it's time to be looking at something else? Well, let's go into our primary charts over here. Let's start off with, do we want to start off with the 4-hour or daily? Daily, obviously bearish divergence in progress right here. Will be confirmed with any sort of a closure below the 10 simple today at 18,400, and will drive targets down towards the last prior low at around low 17,000 bucks. That would be in line with what we see on CMEs as well. So we are talking about potentially about $1,000 move right there, which is rather nice. And of course, that is already within the sphere. Yes, we do have significantly lower highs on RSI right here, but it's a long day left to go, of course, and there's probably going to be a better way to get this actually right now. And I imagine that the 12-hour will confirm this before anything else. And in fact, the 12-hour actually already has confirmed bearish divergence, but that was confirmed on this bar right here, which we saw yesterday, and that drove targets down to that 18,200-ish region, of which when we were on Twitch yesterday, we did say that bounce very, very likely there. And well, actually, to be fair, there was more than $1,000 bounce, I believe, from that region. Now Bitcoin kind of giving it up a little bit more as well. However, with that, I would say that if we do see any sort of a closure on this next 12-hour below 18.2, that same daily signal is very likely to play out. And if that plays out, then yes, next big target is going to be basically 17,000 bucks, give or take, like $100. So again, we are talking about a big move here. We're talking about a more than $1,000 move actually. So we'll go down to the lower term timeframes now and kind of judge what's going on here and see what the 4-hour says. 4-hour Stoch's going to be absolutely fucking nosediving right here, letting go of the bullish control zone with no remorse. And 4-hour RSI, bit of a rejection there as well. This is starting to look like a lot more of sideways action building up here. This is no longer trending to the upside right now. Long term, yes, this is constructive, but I like to see it put some time within the neutral zone right here and then build another case for another move to the upside. And that's going to, likely take time as historical volatility percentile does start to expand while price action is kind of trending to the, or I wouldn't say trending, but coming to the downside right here as far as momentum oscillators go. So I would look for this expansion to essentially come down and fill out this space somewhere in this region right here. And that should likely carry on over into the 12-hour signal that we looked at, and then the daily by extension. And then we can talk about, targets, like I said, down to about 17,000, maybe even a little bit lower than that. Over to the 3-hour, what do we see? We do see 3-hour Stochs nosediving as well. So we see 3-hour and 4-hour in concert together. Same thing with 3-hour RSI. I don't have anything new to say about this that I haven't said on the 4-hour. And, targets would be essentially the same here too. Low $17,000 region. Bi-hourly, what do we see here? We see bi-hourly Stochs nosediving in. They're all in the same same fashion right now. It's very much in fashion to nosedive your fucking face down here. And buy hourly RSI, same thing. Historical volatility percentile increasing as well. So this move unlikely to be done as it is right now. Looking at hourly, do we see the exact same thing here? Pretty much yes. Except hourly RSI, are we building anything as it is right now? No, I don't really have much to make out of this. So no, I think I'll step off that point and move on to the next one, and we'll go back to the 12-hour right here and check out what the medium-term timeframes are printing right now. So as it currently stands, yes, a very obvious area that we're kind of currently hanging out around. Actually, this might be better to do on a lower-term time frame like this. Let's see if we can come up with some nice blue boxes of peace and prosperity here. Now, I do stand by the relevancy of all these horizontals here. We did see, short-term bounces off of all of them on the way down. Quite lucrative too if you were on the Twitch stream during that time. I mean, we saw it, come down to this area, bounce $500, then boom, puke it out, then come down to the next area, bounce $500, then puke it out, and then we actually got the big bounce at about 18,250, which was right alongside the 618 bearish actually retracement right here. Not that I don't really look at it as a bearish retracement, to be fair. I was really just using that for the extensions to the upside actually. So, fair enough. Just kind of using this indicator actually, and not a little bit of a MacGyver way right here, as I do just think it's a little bit easier with that regard. But as it stands right now, I'd essentially be looking for the same areas to be relevant on the way down. However, I want to be very, very clear about this. Realistically, I'm not looking for all of these to be reversals. And I think that needs to be very, very clear because as we said, we saw this yesterday, these were very nice bounces that provides a nice edge for, some scalp trading and whatnot and play in the ranges. Yes, absolutely. That's my preferred way of trading for myself. However, at the end of the day, the big ones that I keep an eye on are going to be the ones that are going to be correlated with the major areas that we spoke about on the medium and higher term timeframes. And that is going to be, once again, $17,000 right here. That's a 0.5 retracement. And then the 382. Now the 382 is very interesting here because obviously I'm using this in a bearish regard. However, if I were to do this in a bullish regard, what's a 382 going to line up with? Well, we can do it right now and you can see for your very self that it would be something like so. Let's do something like this. Wait, whoops, did it backwards again, my bad. It's like baked into my mind now. All right, let's do it like this. There we go. All right, you sir. Yeah, it should be right around the 618 as you can see, and it is kind of overlaid within that region. I'm not doing exactly perfectly. Let's get it like that, like so, and like that. There we go. Yeah, and the 618 would be coming in right around there. So that actually, it would be the 618, and that is pretty much where we do see the CME gap or around there. That's where things start to get really, really interesting. Obviously, we got the 236 a little bit lower than that. In the extreme low $17,000 region, but anywhere within this region is where I do become a little more interested in potentially even finding a long-term trade. So fair enough. With that in mind, let's go back into, or actually, now I should probably mark. Now I do have all of these in here right now, and I do, and like I said, I do stand by that they're all relevant, at least from my trading perspective. But if I'm doing like actual analysis and trying to come up with biases for direction, I'd actually get rid of these two right here. And I'll be having a keen eye on this one right here. And then the one that is relevant to the upside from this region is going to be 18.8 right here, right along the 786 you can see. And as long as we're below this region right here, yes, short term, looking for some more downside with bounces along all of these major levels correlated with fibs, and then likely big interest in this area right here, and then this area right here, the low $17,000 and the mid $17,000. And then if those areas fail, then 16.5. So again, we're talking big ranges here. We're talking $1,000 range essentially, and that does offer up a shit ton of opportunity, but that is also going to require a little bit of patience as well because things are fucking whippy right now with volatility screaming to the upside. So, screaming, in expansion phase, not necessarily like to the upside, with price action. Anyways, as it stands right here, could I come up with another range for where we are right now? Yes, I could actually. In fact, it'd be a nice little blue box for what we're looking at right now between 18.7 and 18.8. As long as we're below this, I do look for short-term momentum to remain to the downside, and I'd essentially be looking for bounces to be puked up, and we just work our way lower with next targets down around this region right here. and then this region right here. So with that in mind, the same sort of implications would be had actually for this level right here, if and when Bitcoin actually does test and potentially break it. If that does happen, I do start to look towards realistically, probably upper $16,000 region, somewhere right around here, or wherever the 4-hour 200 simple and 200 exponential average are starting to come on in, which are currently in the mid $16,000 region, which was kind of where Bitcoin did close last Friday, which would be your CME closure as well. So all these areas do need to be taken into account because, well, they do fucking matter. And we're dealing with massive ranges here, so it's going to get a little bit confusing, but these are the ones that I'll be going off of as it is right now. Of course, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but let's go back to the medium-term time frames right here. 12-hour. Okay, what do we want to see on the 12-hour? Let's go back on to momentum oscillators, and what do we see with 12-hour Stokes? Are they curling around? Looks like they would be curling around a little bit. I would imagine that any sort of a closure, especially below the 21 exponential average right here, will likely thrust them back down. And again, natural target will be somewhere right around the 55, which is that low $17,000 region. So a lot of things still pointing down around there. And do we see any other signals here? 12-hour RSI losing the exponential. So yes, a little bit more of a downside twist here too, or a little bit of a downside short-term bias, I would say. What about daily? Daily's actually starting to red line for the first time in a while. We've actually had 3 days of red, but where are we actually getting up to? Okay, 91, 93, 92 and a half. Okay, very interesting. I can still go to a little bit more there. And realistically, you do see these things actually fill out for, well, as we saw over here in the coronavirus stump, usually like a week or two before the other side does take on over. But it typically does mark off major highs and major lows, similar to what you saw over here on the highs, in contrast to the lows over here, putting in a slew of red reads at the $14,000 high. Doesn't always get like the high, so to speak. Doesn't mean that it has to be that way. Just tells you when, things are likely to cool off. So realistically, I'm not saying that like the run is done or anything like that. I want to be very, very clear about this. I am bullish long term. There's nothing bearish in any way, shape, or form about the higher term timeframes on Bitcoin at all, to be fucking directly clear. I'd probably be looking for something more like this. If I had to guess, if I had to put my name on it, probably be looking for something more like this, where it denotes like a more local high. Maybe Bitcoin puts in some time going sideways here. Could be a month, could be a week, could be whatever the fuck, and then eventually just continues trend to the upside. So fair enough. Anyways, back onto it over here. As it stands right now, I do want to remind myself that if we go back to our secondary charts with the monthly that just closed, the reason why I do have that long-term bullish bias is mostly because the monthly did close very healthily above the topside trailing band. Now, it's very common to come back down and test the topside trailing band after first closing above it, similar to what you see back on over here. Closes above, boom, tests back down, boom, tests back down. It almost always tests back towards the top side in this case when you're trying to the upside, and vice versa for the downside. But you see several examples over here, sometimes even more aggressive than that. So I would say that it's incredibly likely to, it's incredibly likely to come back down and test around this region right here. Could go a little bit deeper than that, but guess where this region is? It's exactly where we just kind of postulated earlier, low $17,000 region. So anywhere around 17,000, and maybe like another $1,000 below there at like, or I guess not 1,000, but like between there and about 16.5, our last base low, which would be the daily trend, is an area of interest for myself. And while this is not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor, you can probably figure out what the fuck I'm trying to do there without me, specifically saying it to the spoon boys of the world. Anyways, as it stands right now, let's see, what else do we want to talk about here? Is the weekly of interest. The week's actually testing it right now. In fact, at 18.5, nice. But back on the monthly right here, I do want to also talk about this as well. I won't be talking about this too much just because, well, you don't really need to, I guess, do all that much with it. But it really only updates it really only updates once a month. So once you kind of have the information, then basically that's the assumption that I run with for the next month. And with the accumulation distribution indicator down here, as long as we are upwardsly sloped on this one, which we are actually maintaining the same slope that we saw from October to November, I am bullish. And the slope of this indicator is all that I care about. I don't care if it's red or green, doesn't matter, even though it is Christmas colors right now. But my point is that, hey, as long as this is having a positive slope, I'm basically bullish, and you can back test this for yourself. The last slope change that we had was coming in May, by the way. May was, well, March, April, May. That was leading you out of this whole bullshit over here. Actually, so I guess it got a little bit, from April to May, yeah. So it changed right around here. So didn't necessarily get the actual low, but it doesn't need to get the actual low. It just needs to get around the low. If we go back on over here, zoom in a little bit, you can kind of back test this yourself just looking at the slope changes. It actually turned to a negative slope the month before coronavirus time. It turned to a positive slope 2 months before the big bad breakout in 2019 from 4,000 to 14,000. Turned to a negative slope on the bull trap of 2018 right here, just above 12,000 bucks. You get my point. So as long as this does have a positive slope, I am long-term bullish. And again, looking at monthly DMI plus dominant. ADX just started strengthening from the last couple months here. So to me, this is incredibly powerful and likely does beget more continuation. Again, referencing the past prior signal that actually resembled something of what we're looking at right here, where the DMI plus was dominant and the ADX was strengthening from, a lowish level. That was actually precipitating the run from about March 2016 all the way to, well, what you saw a few years later, alongside the accumulation distribution indicator having positive slope the whole way through, or actually more or less the whole way through, as this one actually did tell you about the big bad pullbacks right here, which was actually, let's measure this one out. It does look pretty damn intense, but keep in mind it actually only came down to the 9x, and yeah, it's about a 42.5% move to the downside right there on the monthly. Nasty, definitely nasty, but still within the context of a greater uptrend. Don't want to lose sight of the trees in the forest, or the forest in the trees, or a bear shits in the woods and nobody hears. Who the fuck comes up with these goddamn sayings? It's so silly. Anyways, I'll take this off for now. There's something else that oh yeah, that's what I wanted to reference. Okay, so not only does the monthly look good, and by extension, I mean, well, actually, no, we didn't close a bi-monthly, but we are closing a bi-monthly and a quarterly at the end of this month, December, or start of 2021. And if we do look at a quarterly right here, why is this relevant? Well, the quarterly is going to have a chance to do the same thing as well. It's going to have a chance to close above the top side Toronto band. Now, do I trust something that's been around this long, or, realistically, if you're going to use a quarterly chart, you probably want to have 20 years of history, and we have just over 10 years now, so not necessarily the same thing, but overall, this is going to have a chance to do something that it hasn't done in a very long time, and that is close on new all-time highs for quarterly, close above the top side Toronto band. Looking at momentum oscillators over here, it's not going to give us too much. DMI plus is dominant for whatever that's worth, but I imagine we'd have to go to our regular charts to gain more off that. But just looking at basic trend right here, the most simple of simple. You don't need to be fucking you don't need to be professional to look at this and realize that it's an uptrend. I mean, the way that I read this is just 3 years of a nice healthy consolidation. Just don't look at the numbers on the right hand side over here, because they're only going to scare the shit out of you. And now officially breaking into the upside, or at least going to have a chance to do that. Now the thing is that for me, and I'd imagine a lot of other people out there, I look at this as Bitcoin already at all-time highs and making new all-time highs. The reason why I say that is because we have new closing highs on the monthly, and that is what I think is kind of like the highest time frame that makes the most sense for Bitcoin. The quarterly, it's nice to look at, but like I said, probably needs another 5 to 10 years of history before it really can accurately represent the indicators. But for right now, the monthly closing on new all-time highs, I look at this as basically new all-time highs already, and this is like a clear breakout, and actually has been basically since this area right here on the closure, like 14,000 bucks. So to me, that really does supersede everything else, and we're just kind of seeing the culmination of these effects go onwards and forwards over time. So with that in mind, we'll go back to our regular charts over here, and what else do I want to see? Is there anything staring us in the face on the 2-day? 2-day has a 10 symbol right around 18,000 even. 2-day Stokes coming down. 2-day RSI. Again, long term it's fine, but short term probably does play out a little bit of down. 3-day, what do we see? I would like to see a backfill in the last 3-day open. Guess where that would be? Mid to low 17,000 bucks. Nice. 10 simple right around the bottom echelon of that as well. And notifications out the fucking wazoo this morning as well. Jesus Christ. And what do we see on 3-day RSI? A little bit of a rejection right there as well. Although, again, long term, very good. Short term, does it come down a little bit? Probably yes. As historical volatility percentile is looking to go into an expansion phase. But I still want to see the moving average on this get a positive slope. And then, yes, it would be, well, we can just look at the last few times that we got a signal like this when coming into the, teens or low single digits right here. This was precipitating the run once again in 2020, or sorry, no, not a run. That was a coronavirus dump right here in February, before 10,000 went all the way down to about 4,500, of course. And the time before that was coming out of this base over here. for 3 months going into a period of extremely low volatility. We see, single digit reads multiple times in a row, and then boom, massive move up from 4,000 almost immediately to 6,000, and then over the next few months, $14,000. You can again test this one yourself. We see the same shit in 2018 before the dump Bola from 6,000 to 3,000, and going back to current times. I believe that we're probably going to be looking at something as impressive as those moves as well. The question is, does this expansion come to the upside or the downside, as it is direction neutral? Well, if we're going off a trend is your friend. That would suggest upside. If we're going off momentum oscillators, well, that wouldn't necessarily be the best, the best from this perspective as well. However, what would I say about that? Momentum oscillators in a trending market operate differently. When you are in a trending market, you really want to be using your momentum oscillators to get into moves on the same side of the trend, not into the counter moves. I fucking hate Stokes for this reason during trending moves, because when I first was learning them, I just got it wrong all the time. I was like, oh, we're topping out right here. No, every fucking time. Wrong. It's just not the way that it works, at least in my experience. So looking at that right there, I actually don't care what the Stokes are doing. I'd actually be looking for the next move alongside the trend, which the trend currently is to the upside. And that would likely be my next major long-term entry. Now, to put this in perspective as well, because I know that probably a lot of people are scared of the 3-day Stokes, for example, or whatever for that example. We can certainly see the 3-day Stokes stay up in the critical zone for a very long time, and that is completely fine. We saw this back and over here in 2017. You can see that 3-day Stokes were above the critical zone from October, which was this area right here, and stayed up all the way there until basically 20,000. So that was from a price point of 6,000 all the way to 20,000. It's more than a 3x to the upside. So I do want to put this in perspective that, just because that is in play right now does not necessarily mean that, things just go straight to the downside. No, they can actually remain up there. And this is the exact thing that I'm kind of referencing, that when you are in strong trending markets, this is actually it can be interpreted as a very bullish read. I just want to see it bounce off the critical zone, which I imagine we probably do come down and test at some point. So putting it all together right now, Jesus Christ. If I had to call it right now, it probably does look for a little bit of short-term downside. However, I would look for things to get picked up somewhere down around here and then give another try to the upside. I am not long-term bearish in any way, shape, or form. There's zero reason for me to be bearish, even on the daily, as long as we're above 16,500. Let's see what that would look like on closures. 17,000 on closures. And right now, the 21 exponential average is actually a little bit above that. So if I had to call things right now, I'd probably be looking for, a move maybe today or tomorrow down to the 21, which is in the mid $17,000. Bounce there. Does that bounce turn a reversal? Maybe yes. That's starting to get very close to the zone that we were postulating before. And in fact, I believe that might even be considered a gap fill on CMEs for using just wicks here. 17.8 would be it on CMEs. So I imagine with the current premium over spot price action of about $100 to $200, that would be around the same area of comparable, is close enough as far as I'm concerned. So there we go. Anyways, what else do we want to see? Okay, let's go back down and time to get in some other cryptos here, because we're already 27 minutes into this bitch. Let's go to NASDAQ. Do we have new all-time highs? We got new all-time highs, baby. Or actually, do we? 12,465 and a quarter, 12,512. Said new all-time highs this week. Getting new all-time highs, and I imagine we're going to continue to get new all-time highs. And where is the next postulated target? Somewhere around $13,000 long term. I would have an interest at 12.5, although I guess we're already kind of seeing we're actually already seeing the test from that. A little bit of a pullback. Probably does pull back down to like the 1.272 at 12,350, and I'd be looking for another try to the upside. Things are still bullish here, and I don't really have any reason to be bearish. And I imagine the same thing on SPY futures as well. Oh, what do you know? Another new all-time high as well. And then same thing here. I'd imagine that we're probably going to have some sort of a long-term target up towards maybe like 38 or 3,900 long-term. Now, again, long-term, not today, not tomorrow. And I imagine that these two things play together. So probably short-term, like very, very short-term pullback here, if that. But realistically, I'm just generally looking up here. What about Tesla? Tesla, powerful. Oh my God. I haven't checked on this in a long time, but apparently it hit our target right here and then just fucking green dildo its way to the heavens. And this doesn't look like it's stopping, at least for now. Microsoft, what do we see? Yeah, I'd be looking for this one to give another try to the upside, 220 and a half. Apple, same thing. I'd be looking for a retest of 127 and a quarter, and then this. What does this look like? An ascending triangle at the highs. We're seeing the same sort of formations in all major markets. We're seeing basically high or bullish consolidations, bullish reaccumulation formations. In this case, right here with an ascending triangle at the highs. I mean, we see it with Apple. We see it essentially with Microsoft. We see it obviously with Tesla. Well, that one's already breaking out. NASDAQ breaking out. SPY breaking out. And Bitcoin looks to be like it's trying to do the same thing, but maybe playing a little bit less, maybe playing a little bit after the fact than the other ones, because I would imagine that it's relatively less strong. Not to say that it's relatively weak. It's certainly not weak, but it's not as strong as the other ones. They're going to set the tone. So the way that I look at it is like NASDAQ is what Bitcoin is to NASDAQ what Bitcoin is to like a Litecoin or a fucking Ethereum. Like Bitcoin essentially sets a tone for the cryptocurrencies, and then they get to follow depending upon Bitcoin's strength and their relativeness to that. And then Bitcoin essentially plays off of traditional markets, usually the techs, which we can actually just go straight up look at the tech sector. Where's my XLK over here? 125. And what do you know? Yeah, same shit. Putting an ascending triangle at the at a very high level here, and now up and at him, and looks like it wants to make new all-time highs. I'd imagine probably gonna have a target somewhere around like 135 or 140, whatever the fuck it ends up being. Good shit. Anyways, okay, let's go check out some cryptos. Link, what are you doing? Gonna be doing the same thing as Bitcoin? Why do we even look at these things? I don't know, but I'd probably be looking for maybe another swipe down towards 12.5 bucks. Not bearish on this though, similar to Bitcoin. This one's still acting mostly well, and I imagine that the monthly is. Well, actually, I don't know what the monthly is. Yeah, the monthly is looking good. I'd love to see a backfill anywhere down around like 12 or 11.5 bucks, and then try some more upside from there. Mr. Beaterall, I think we saw something very interesting yesterday on the monthly as well. Yeah, any sort of a pullback back down to 500 bucks is a very obvious. I shouldn't say obvious area, but it'd be an area that I'm very obviously interested in. Perhaps this is a better way of stating it. And still, next monthly target is going to be somewhere around about a little bit north of 800 bucks. Next weekly target, however, is going to be, I believe it was 730 or 720. 720. Yeah, 720 right here. 720 right here, and our current traded high is about 650. Now, something is very interesting with this actually, because we do not see new highs on this chart right here. And I believe I'm on, I'm on Poloniex actually. Let's see what it says for BitMEX. Yeah, BitMEX actually did make new highs on this run. Which one do I trust more? Well, both of them are kind of shitty exchanges to be fair. Let's see, do we have like a Finex here? Yeah, we do have a Finex. Finex made new highs on this run as well. Very interesting. So, overall, I do remain bullish on the whole. Short term though, Bitcoin wants to come down a little bit. This one probably finds its way back down to like 550, maybe even 500 base. But like I said, I'm rather interested in areas like this. And you can almost imagine, not that you should imagine, this is very bad technical analysis here. This isn't even really technical analysis to begin with. But what would this be looking like? What could this be looking like with the current way that it's shaping up right now? Something like this. So I imagine things probably do come down and fill out this area a little bit. But as long as we have those rising lows, well, it is an uptrend, and that would be an ascending triangle, which is a bullish reaccumulation formation as well. And that probably does have a measure move, if I had to guess, just looking at the range here from about 530 to 620. Yeah, that would be your next 720 target on the weekly. So interesting how those things do work out. But I do think that we're probably going to spend a little bit of time within this region and then give another try to the upside. So yesterday was a little bit of a tease, a little bit of a head fake, if you will. But I don't think things are done just yet, actually. I do remain bullish on the whole. Just I'm not so interested in this current area that we're in right now. I want to see things kind of evolve over the next week, maybe 2 weeks, and then come back to it after that. That's what I really want to see myself. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. See what Caretaker has to say about this. I'm curious if he agrees with the current ranges on the low-term timeframes. See what the hourly says right here. Yeah, showing between 18 low and, well, that's not really helpful to the upside, 19.7 high, like obviously, prior high on this run on a closing basis. Fair enough. You do have a little bit of a strong falling trend as it is right now, though, but that is just an hourly now, isn't it? What about the 4 hours? Is that going to give our greater range? Yes, indeed it does. 17,000 low, same highs. Excellent. That's what I want to be seeing. And that does solidify my opinion that if we do get back down around here over the next, week or two, I'm very much interested in that area, not because it's guaranteed to work out, but because it does, we see so many things, so many points of confluence lining up in that region that it would be a good area, at least in my opinion, to put some risk on because, well, there's a very obvious way to be managing risk on that area, as if that area fails, then obviously that idea is not going to work out. And so potential capital risk on a trade like that is very minimal, or at least as minimal as it can be. And that's the whole idea with trading anyways. I think it's probably time for me to wrap this bitch up though once again. And let's see, what do we want to start off with? Or what? Yeah, let's get rid of this for now. Damn drawings. I'm OCD as fuck about my drawings, by the way, in case you haven't noticed. Okay, so do we want to start right here? Do we want to start right here? I think we'll start right here once again. Alrighty, let's wrap this bitch up. Bitcoin closing the monthly above the topside Krown band. Once again, I do want to reflect upon that because that does sit in the long-term bullish bias for this asset. Obviously, we want to see the quarterly do the same thing at the end of this month, but for what it's worth, things are looking pretty damn good, and it would take quite a significant dump to undo that. I think off the top of my head would be like a 2,000 or 3,000 dump from where we are right now. But with that in mind, topside Krown band currently is sitting around $17,000, and I do believe that Bitcoin likely will come back down at some point this month and test that region. Could it be that we're going to test that region sooner rather than later? Well, if we go down into the lower-term timeframes over here, I would say that the daily and the 12-hour by extension do have a signal in place that could very easily do that, and that is the bearish divergence that is currently building on the daily right here. Now, is that confirmed as it is right now at all whatsoever? No, it's not. We can do this two ways. We need to confirm this level right here as a local high. How do we confirm this level as a local high? We need to close the daily doodle anywhere below the last open, which is below the last close, which would be 18,800-ish region. So any sort of a 12-hour or daily closure today below 18.8, and then yes, I would be looking for Bitcoin over the next week or so to work its way back down towards the 21 exponential moving average at the very least, which is in the mid $17,000 region right here. If we go down to our lower term timeframes, we can obviously see that does line up with some pretty damn significant fibs. If we do pull it back on over here, I'm just looking at a 0.5 and a 382 right in this region. Now this is a bearish retracement, so you're probably a few years into bullish retracement. It's gonna be the 618, same shit basically. Different implications technically speaking, but my point is that it would still be a relevant level for an algo target, and that would also likely be considered a gap fill on CMEs here too, as I typically do these things on a wick-to-wick basis. Oh, whoops, we're on a 2-day right now. I do these on a wick-to-wick basis. Now, of course, it can go lower as well, but where would that same level being around for CMEs? Again, realizing that it does have about $100 to $200 premium over spot price action. Actually, currently more than $200 premium. That would be in the mid to low $17,000 region as well. So everything kind of does line up with that region. Now, again, I'm not saying that I am in any way, shape, or form long-term bearish on this price action. Short-term, I do think it's a little more likely to come back down and fill out this area, but I do look at that as an opportunity more long-term. So with that in mind, if I did have to put ranges on the short-term timeframes, I'd do it something like so. The current range to the upside that is relevant for a 4-hour delta closure would be about 18,800-ish region, also in line with the 786 right here on this retracement. Again, would be the 382 if you're looking at it from the opposite end. Same shit basically. And more importantly, just lines up. And if Bitcoin does pop back above this region right here, I would look for an extension back up towards 19,250, and then same implications at 19,250 that we had before. If Bitcoin does break back above that level, I would look for another run back up to $20,000, and then we can probably target the next fib extension here at about the 1.414, as we did get essentially front ran from the 1.272 on the last move. So that would be of interest as well. Do I think that that's going to happen before playing out a further move to the downside? Probably not, but my opinion is not necessary, and my opinion is worthless, and essentially I would trade for that if those conditions are met. On the other side, yes, these same areas that we spoke about on the Twitch stream yesterday are still very much relevant at 18,250 and 17.9 right here. However, I really don't think that there'd be anything more than short-term bounces, and ultimately Bitcoin likely does either try to put in a low somewhere around here in the mid 17 or the low 17, and could we see wicks down all the way to the 200 simple and 200 exponential average? Yes, very easily. very, 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 very easily. But I'd like to see this market one step at a time, and I think that's a good place for me to leave it off right here. So with that said, long-term bullish, short-term sideways, that's basically it. Take care, and until next time.